Hi everyone. Today we get to work on the topic of the magic square. The magic square is one of the best ways to win a chess game. It involves using your queen in order to checkmate your opponent's king. Let's find the square on the board where we can place our queen in order to checkmate this lone king. Now you'll notice that with black's king sitting on e8 here, it has only 5 squares to escape to. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Can you find how white's queen can attack all 5 of those squares at the same time, as well as attacking the king on e8? You should have found e7. Notice the queen threatens f8, f7, d7, d8, and even the king itself. Is there any way for black to escape? Well, yes, actually. The black king can simply capture the white queen. So what must we do in order to make this a checkmate? We need what we call a helper. A helper is any piece that protects another piece. Let's start with our king. Notice we could place our king on any one of those 3 squares, f6, e6, or even d6, protecting the queen. Black's king can now not capture the white queen because, remember, kings are not allowed to stand next to each other. This would be checkmate. Or we could replace the king with any other piece. Perhaps a knight, perhaps a bishop, perhaps a rook, and even a pawn. Any one of these is checkmate. Now let's try something. Let's start from the following position. White has a king and a queen. Black has just the lone king. As you'll remember, we need to move our white queen onto the magic square. How do we accomplish this? There are several steps to this. The first one is trap your opponent's king on the edge of the board by building a fence, which we'll see in a minute. Secondly, bringing in our helper. And finally, delivering the checkmate on the magic square. So our first move in this position, queen to h7. Notice that the white queen is threatening the whole 7th rank. And that is the fence across which black's king cannot escape. So after queen h7, black has only 2 choices. His king must move sideways. And now it's time for step 2, which is bring in the helper. And white's king is the helper in this case. The king moves forward diagonally so as to keep chasing black's king. The king tries to escape. Our king chases. King runs away, and notice how it progresses. We just keep chasing that king until finally our king is controlling that magic square. In this case, c7. Can you see the move for white to complete checkmate? It should be easy by now. White simply plays queen to the magic square, checkmate. One of the reasons that the magic square checkmate is so important is consider the fact that if you were to play a game and win one of your opponent's pawns, your strategy now would simply be to trade off every single piece so as to win the game with your 1 extra pawn. Take the following position as an example. White could simply play queen captures queen, and supposing black's king took back, now we could play white rook takes black rook, and black's king could take back. Now notice that we have 4 pawns against 3. And now without going through the move specifically, imagine if we were just able to trade off 3 pawns for 3 pawns. That would leave us with 1 extra pawn. If you can safely run your pawn across the board to the last rank, what happens? That pawn becomes a queen, or any other piece that you choose. Once you have queened your pawn, notice you have your helper, your king, you have your queen, and therefore you can do a checkmate using the magic square. While we've been talking about the magic square and how to finish off a chess game with it, many times the magic square actually occurs during the middle of the chess game when there are many pieces spread across the board. And if you carefully look for it, you can often find this trick to win the game right in the middle. Notice the following position. White's queen and bishop are lined up together towards black's king. You see that magic square right there on g7? And if it was white's turn in the position, white could simply move his queen all the way across the board, capture that pawn in front of the king, notice how the bishop is still protecting the queen, and there is no black piece that can capture the queen. We have checkmate. The points to remember in regards to our magic square discussion: number 1, your queen must land on the magic square. That protects every square your opponent's king can escape to. Your queen must be protected, and no piece may capture your queen. This concludes our discussion of the magic square checkmate.